Excellent. I'm sure the battery's dead. Yeah. I just need another minute, gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
We're gonna end up sitting around here for like 2 hours tonight. So
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't be that bad.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Watch your step. Watch your step.
While we have for a moment, I got a question for you. Just procedurally, okay? So we're starting our meeting,
Yes.
right? We do this first.
Yes.
Then we go to this.
That's
If you look at the agenda, things in order, we do this, then this.
Yeah.
Then we should go and do the minutes again. But you save the minutes to the end.
Well, what I do is, you're right, I do.
Okay. But you see what I'm saying?
I do.
That's why that throws me.
All right.
Okay. You don't have to change
No.
me. You're
You're making a point. There's nothing else on this.
Right.
It's all the sense in the world.
Right.
Hi, Joe.
We're ready.
Hey, I was listening to that woman who said she couldn't get a hold of me. I checked my phone, and I did speak to Mr. Why did this just shut down on me? I did speak to Mr. Doyle. Yeah, I did speak to Mr. Doyle, and I've already briefed Aaron, and Aaron's going to take care of that. But I had a guy. There's a guy, Gary Fox, the one.
and then you look at it.
Good evening. The time is now 5:06 and the Warwick Finance Committee is open. May I have a motion for acceptance of the minutes for the meeting held on January 3rd?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. PCR 8-24. Item number 1, bid 2024-306. Gasoline low sulfur diesel, ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. Assistant Chief Umbenhauer from the Fire Department. Fire Department is recommending that the award for bid on gasoline, bid number 2024-036, be awarded to Pinnacle Petroleum out of Huntington Beach, California, for an amount not to exceed $300,000.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions from members of this committee? Are there any questions from members of the council? Are there any questions from members of the public? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
The next item is bid 2024-332, Verkada Camera and Door Access Systems. Good evening, Major.
Good evening. Major Andy Sullivan for the Police Department. The police department is seeking a 56.6 exception to notice to purchase a new Verkada video monitoring and/or access control system. Verkada is a sole source vendor, and their equipment would be installed by one of their authorized installers, Wally Computer Associates of Southwick, Massachusetts. The department's current camera and door access equipment is beyond its useful life. A properly working modern camera and door access system is essential for proper security and monitoring at police headquarters. The total cost of the system for a 10-year period that includes install and service and the bumper-to-bumper coverage, if approved, would be $285,000. Correction, $285,911.14, and would be funded with pre-approved ARPA funds, budget code 510-0400.
Thank you, Major. Councilman Gebhardt.
Hey, Major. Thank you.
Good evening.
Couple questions here. So is the intent to bring in to add to the existing system or to essentially replace everything that we have in place today?
Sir, this would be a complete replacement of our current system.
Okay. So given that, why is Verkada the only vendor who could perform that?
Verkada has the features that our in-house people spec'd out and seek, and those are proprietary to Verkada. The Warwick school system currently uses that, and we know that they're very happy with it also.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like this is a pretty congested space, that there's sufficient vendors out there. For a purchase of this size, it would make sense to me to bid it, but maybe I'm not understanding the reasons why it would be limited just to this one vendor.
It's just that our people had done extensive research about what equipment we want, and Verkada was a system that we desired. They are a sole source themselves, and they outsource the install to the Wally Computer Associates.
Got it. So they've got sort of a hardware and software package that combined they're the sole source provider for?
Yes, and their camera and equipment is proprietary to their own stuff. It's what they created. You can't find it anywhere else exactly as built. And
Okay.
That's why we chose to go with them.
All right, got it. Wondering, so we've got some cameras at other facilities across the city. Has there any thought been given to, pulling it under the same umbrella or tying them together?
At this time, this is a one-off investment at the police station. It may have capabilities to integrate with other systems. That's something we can explore
Okay.
after install.
Okay, got it. And then, am I imagining that we included a use of ARPA funds to redesign an entrance at the police station?
I don't, that would, DPW may have the answer for that. But
Okay.
I don't think they're represented here tonight. We did do if you're talking about the configuration of the possibility of doing some refurbishment at the station,
Yep.
that would prove to be cost prohibitive in the big picture, and that project has for now been abandoned.
Okay, got it. So there's no risk that we install a bunch of door handling hardware that needs to be replaced?
Not unless the finance committee wishes to purchase us a new police station tonight.
All right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Major. Any other questions for members of this committee? Questions for members of the council? Councilman Lattisaur.
Thank you. Hi, Major.
Good evening.
So just to kind of tag team with Councilman Gebhardt said, I, for a long time, have had concerns with the additional sole source vendors that we continue to kind of get controlled by. And it seems as though it's happening more and more where the vendors that we're being asked to approve are sole source vendors. And that's obviously a very controlling issue where we don't have any flexibility or wiggle room. There is no alternative, and we're kind of like stuck with it, like it or not. So it continues to be a concern with me. I understand some of this technology stuff, which you all know I don't even begin to profess to have a whole lot of knowledge in. But I do have a fair amount of knowledge in being controlled. Is there another product, particularly where it's not going to be affected or affect any of the other cameras, as Councilman Gebhardt just asked, throughout the city? Is there another product or another vendor that could be used to accomplish the same goals that you're looking to accomplish without being controlled by a sole source vendor?
There are other vendors, but they don't deal in Verkada. So this company that does the install is exclusively subbed out by Verkada to do the installs. There are other systems out there of similar quality, but our people had spec'd out this system, and this is the one that they determined was the best course of action for our department.
Those other vendors that you allude to, would they also, in essence, be a sole source vendor with their product as well?
They very well may be. I know there's another big company called Insignion, I believe, that's starting to emerge in the market as far as a competitor for Verkada. And like Verkada, their equipment's all going to be sole source and proprietary also. That's a problem you run into. There's not just one set camera system out there that 10 different companies sell. So we can't, it's kind of hard to get what we want or what we need.
So it seems as though with technology, this type of technology, it seems as though we are, like it or not, going to be continually moving into this sole source type of ventures because it's a proprietary system that, Ed develops and nobody else has, and I got the exclusive rights to it. Kind of like a pharmaceutical company, right? They come up with a drug that works and they get the patent on it and they are sole source vendor.
It is the unfortunate reality. The old cameras, in their infancy were just cameras, and they didn't do much other than observe and record and store the data. Now they have all these added on features and specifications, and they're proprietary to the company who developed them. So we can, it makes it difficult to go out to bid and find, first of all, known quantities such as Verkada. They have an excellent track history. Warwick Public Schools uses them. That's how, we've had firsthand account from them that they like it and they use it, and it works very well to their liking. So instead of taking a risk on some unknown vendor, that's why we settled with them, and they have the equipment we are seeking.
And based upon your knowledge that you have regarding this vendor and their stability, financial stability, et cetera, and I'm sure the other members of your department that were involved with this, you're comfortable that this particular vendor who would become a sole source vendor for us with this technology, that they are financially strong, they're a sound company, they're a solid company. It's not going to be a situation where in a year from now, you've got a problem with something and we can't get parts because we don't have a supply, or a whole host of other things that could come up. You're fairly comfortable that this is a solid company financially, stability-wise, and their ability to service us.
Yes, as far as we know, everything indicates they are.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Major. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further questions from members of the council? Councilman Ricks.
I also just wanted to check and see if there may be any additional expenses beyond the contract price of the $285,911.14 over the 10 years, such as I saw in the white paper that there was a reference to the cost of IDs. I'm not sure if the cost of IDs is built into this contract award, or if that would be an additional amount, or if there were other additional items that may be beyond that 285 and change.
We don't anticipate any additional costs. ID cards, if you're referencing, if that's what I understand, the blank cards, we buy those on an as-needed basis. So those are not included in this, and they're fairly nominal price point.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further questions from members of the council? Questions from members of the public? Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
Next will be item number 3, which is bid 2024-292, Warwick City Park Dog Park Improvement Project. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Bill Facenti, Community Development. Here tonight to ask for approval of bid 2024-292, Warwick City Park Dog Park Improvements. The city received bids from 7 vendors expressing interest in doing the improvements. Prices range from a base bid of $82,340 to $238,256. City is asking the council award the contract for a not to exceed price of $85,240. That includes the base bid of $82,340 and 2 alternatives that were included for debris removal, old trees that are in the area of the new dog park for $2,900. Contract is being requested to be awarded to Yardworks Inc. of Warwick. This is council opera funds, so none of it is city general funds, and it is coming from Ward 6 council opera.
Thank you so much, Bill. Are there any questions for members of this committee? Before I go with questions, Councilwoman Travis, would you like to make a statement on this?
Yes, this is my big project for my opera funds. This is something that the people were requesting. I got a lot of calls on this. And it's really very touchy to me because I'm the one who put the dog park in the beginning anyway, when we first put it in. And it was one of the nicest parks, but of course, the maintenance wasn't taken care of. So this is a good way to bring it up to par. We're going to bring, a big thing was the handicap, making handicap accessible too for the people. So that'll be easier. Pushing it into the woods will give them some shade. It wouldn't cost us more money to put up shelters. So I think this is going to be a great project. And I think it's in an area where City Park has been, hasn't been taken care of much, basically because even with the CDBG money, they didn't qualify. Buttonwoods wouldn't qualify. The other areas of city, Ward 6 didn't qualify. Only Oakland Beach qualified for CBG money. But this is a project when no matter how many times I brought it up to the mayors, it always got pushed to the side. So that's a perfect way to use opera money to get something done that could have kept being pushed aside. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Are there any questions, comments from members of the council? Councilman Lattiser. Oh, I apologize. Councilman Lattiser.
I'll yield to Councilman.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gebhardt.
Oh, thanks. I just had a quick question. Did any of these other vendors provide any reasoning around? Were there expanded scopes in some of their bids, or
no? It was a line item
swing.
pricing. The same bid went to all the vendors. We had 10 of them at the mandatory pre-bid. 7 submitted bids. I don't understand the way people are bidding, but there was line item pricing. There was the lump sum for the entire project, which the councilwoman mentioned, moving the dog park further into woods for shade, ADA improvements, pathways, some benches, we're shifting the dog park away from the inline skating rink because the skaters like to shoot the pucks at the boards, and it bothers the dogs. So we're moving it a little bit away from that. It's going to be in the same footprint as the dog park. It's not getting any closer to the fields, but it's moving into the woods a little bit. I can't explain the price disparity. I was just as shocked as you are. Yardworks is a local company. It could be that they just wanted it because it's local.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The reasonable side bids here seem to be the kind of usual suspects that bid
Right.
on and actually
Yeah.
do a lot of our work. So, but for the others, certainly not a way to get your foot in the door.
No,
Triple
not
the
at all.
low bidder, but cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lattiser, thank you so much. You're up.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
So I think I just heard you say that 10 bid requests were sent out to vendors.
No, so there was a mandatory pre-bid.
Mhm.
There were 27 vendors emailed the notification, plus advertising on the websites and
Okay.
all the other advertising the city does. 11 vendors came to the pre-bid, mandatory pre-bid in the rain. 7 submitted bids. Of those 7 bids, they ranged from 82,340 down up to 238,256.
Okay.
So 7 of the 10, we've never had that many vendors at a pre-bid.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah.
It's amazing. Even before COVID, we've never had that many vendors. And for 7 of them to actually submit bids is unusual as well. Usually we're 1 or 2.
How many did you say were emailed to vendors?
27.
27.
That's the list the city, my office provided to purchase.
Sure.
And then they email them out. They put it on the website and do the normal advertising.
Well, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, that the city took the effort to reach out to 27 vendors, and the result was you had a strong showing, right? You had vendors bidding that probably wouldn't have bid before. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. That's all I got.
No problem.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further questions, comments from members of the council? Questions, comments on this bid from members of the public? Council President McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take this while Bill is up here, and this is his last council meeting. Well, he's welcome to come back at any time, but he is set to retire at the end of this month. I believe he's one of the longest-serving city employees in the city.
I don't know about that. But
If not the longest. He
almost
started
30
very
years,
young,
yeah.
very young. So I just wanted to thank you for your service to our city. You know, I think you have a great job because you get to come here and offer, hey, I have some money, you know, what could we do with it, and stuff like that. But I just want to thank you. That's a long service to the city of Warwick. You know it inside and out. You've taken on additional responsibilities like these ARPA projects. I know that kind of fell into your lap here, and, you know, 9 wards, 9 council people, 9, more than 9, you know, community groups reaching out to you about these projects and stuff like that. So I just wanted to thank you for your service to our city. Congratulations on your retirement, and please come back anytime.
thank you. It's been a pleasure. I live in the city of Warwick, so I'm not going anywhere. Thank you.
Bill, I know the applause cut you off. Did you want to say, or are you all set? That's it. Well, good luck on your future endeavors, and thank you. We've come to the part of the bid package where I will ask the members of the committee, members of the council, members of the public, if there is any item that they would like to discuss. I will give everyone a minute just to review the remainder of the packet. And of course, I will start with the committee to see if there's any item they would like to discuss. Okay. Councilman Gebhardt requests bid 2024-311. That's item number 5, found on page 18, Parks and Recreation, purchase and installation of electronic equipment. Councilman Foley.
Item 4, 2024-338.
Found on page 14. That is Warwick Fire Department Recruit Training Academy. Are there any items that members of the council would like to discuss? Councilman Lattisaw.
Councilman Gebhardt stole my thunder, so I'll follow his lead.
We'll just change that to 5 then. We'll just go ahead and say that Councilman Lattisaw got it. Thank you. Is there any other item that members of the council? Are there any items on the bid package that members of the public? I apologize. Okay, so we'll go in order. The 2 items that were pulled, so we'll begin with Councilman Foley. That is bid 2024-338, Warwick Fire Department Recruit Training Academy. This is found on page 14. Good evening, Chief. Please introduce yourself, and then Councilman Foley, you have the floor.
Assistant Chief Umbenhauer of the Fire Department.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
Is this anticipation of having a class this year?
Correct. We're anticipating, we've identified 12.
Can you talk in a little bit? My hearing
sorry.
isn't.
This
Thank
might not be my height. We have identified 12 recruits. Right now we're 12 short. We budgeted and have found 12 eligible recruits. They will start their training on February 19th, and they will finish just about the end of the fiscal, right after the start of the new fiscal year. So we should be even to our maximum number of personnel on July 1st.
So you've already advertised and gotten the applicants.
Yep, we did that process. It's a 2-year process. Usually when that list goes out, it's a 2-year list. So we're at the end of that 2-year list. So we'll be doing it again in the fall for the next 2 years.
Thank you.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions, comments from members of the council? Councilman Lattisaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Chief.
Good evening.
I think you already answered this question with Councilman Foley, but I'm just going to ask it in a different form. Do you have a list of these 12 recruits that you are proposing to send for this training?
I do, yeah. We know who they are. We've already put them through orientation and through their pre-employment physicals and all that work.
Okay. And you're requesting this bid as a 1-year bid. Are you intending to send all 12 recruits at the same time?
We do. Yeah, it's more of a one-time bid, but we let it go through the year in case there's a straggler that has to go back, or has to finish at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if a recruit gets injured in the course of it, we won't drop him because we've already invested highly in him. But if he can't complete it, then they will put him into the next academy that comes through. But it won't be any more cost, but the cost would be spread further down in the fiscal year.
And sending all 12 recruits at one time, that's not going to have any impact on mandatory manning or anything like that?
No, they won't be part of minimum man until they finish the academy. This is part of our recruit training academy we've always done. We just, since 2021, we've just started using the municipal academy to do the bulk of the work because they have the certifications that they need to obtain.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions, comments from members of the council? Members of the public, questions, comments on bid 2024-338 Warwick Fire Department Recruit Training? Thank you. Next, we will be going on to bid 2024-311 Parks and Recreation, purchase and installation of electronic equipment for the Harbor Master boats. This was requested by Councilman Gebhardt. This is found on page 18. Councilman Gebhardt.
Hello, Director.
Hi, Beverly Wiley, Parks and Recreation.
Well, thanks for you and the Harbor Master spending a little time with me today on this one. This is one I've got a lot of boaters in my area, so they were interested in this one. So maybe we could just hear from the Harbor Master on the equipment that we're getting and the function. I think specifically the high ticket items, the GPS and the camera, system, please.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch all
Could
of
we
that.
hear from the Harbor Master
Yes,
about
I have the Harbor Master here also to answer the questions because
Great,
he's the
thank you.
expert.
So just about the I would say the high ticket items, the GPS and the camera system and the necessity for those.
Sure. Before you make a statement, could you please just identify for the record? Thank
Sure.
you.
Jeff Barris, Harbor Master.
Thank you, sir.
And what we're looking at here, we had requested bids for new electronics packages for the 2 boats that we're using. And this is to replace existing systems that we have that are 14 and 15 years old. Now, the bigger ticket items they consist of a GPS chart plotter, radar system, depth finder, and radio and VHF radio in a combined integrated system. So this is actually really, it's kind of an entry level unit, but it'll give us what we need to be efficient and be able to interact and have the same capabilities as the other organizations that we work with. We also, we use these because we have regular patrols in season. We have boating safety patrols that can include nighttime, can include foggy conditions. And so our boats operate each boat will operate approximately 20 hours a week in the season. Now we roll into a slow start into May, and then we taper off after October. But essentially the boats will be in constant use. So what we have now on the boats is failing. The units are failing. They really aren't meant to last that long. And so these quotes, or this quote that we have here, includes the prices for the equipment and installation costs.
Thank you. What was the age of the equipment that we're replacing?
14 and 15 years,
okay,
respectively. Yeah.
Okay, well, and then the other big ticket item was the camera that you took me through today. Can you just explain the usage for the camera?
Yes, the FLIR thermal imaging camera. Now, what that does, that enhances our nighttime operation, because if we're looking for an object that may be too small or too low on the water, a person, a kayak, a small boat, what this does, it gives a thermal signature, and it will show up something that the naked eye won't see and that radar may not pick up. And given my my aging night vision, I need all the edge I can get. But it'll be a big help for us. It works both in low light and in high light conditions. If we were operating inside a crowded harbor with a lot of background lighting, that would blind us as well. So nothing really blinds the thermal imaging camera.
Well, thank you so much. I know the Harbor Masters worked very hard, and we
Thank you.
are very grateful for your efforts. I'll yield to my colleague who knows things about boats, and he can ask
Thank you,
more
Councilman.
specific questions.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you, Chairman. So my first question, I guess, would probably need to be answered by the purchasing director. And being that I only see 2 bidders here that bid, my question is, how many vendors received a request to bid on this item? Now, I'll bring you back to the question I asked just a few minutes ago with regard to the bid in Councilwoman Travis's ward, and there were 27 emails sent out, or 27 vendors that were emailed a request to bid on that work that was being done. What I'm asking is, how many vendors were emailed or contacted and requested to bid on this item? I'd like to hear from the purchasing director, if we could, please. I think she's the one that sends out those requests.
Two. Yeah. There were two.
There were only two.
Only two. Those were certified Garmin dealers and technicians. Yes.
Where does it say in here that it had to be a certified Garmin dealer? As an example, in many other bids, a vendor doesn't have to be certified as a dealer to sell the product. They could choose to purchase the product from a third party and resell it. And as long as they're competitive, that should be the issue. But so the reason I asked this question is I received a phone call today from, actually he's a constituent in two wards. He's a constituent in my ward residentially, and I believe in Councilman McElroy's ward. So this vendor happens to be the second largest marine dealer in the city of Warwick, and never received a request to bid on this. But yet we have reasons to send out 27 requests for landscaping type of work. And it seems to me that this bid process, the way it's being conducted, is flawed. And I don't think it's fair. And that's one of my objections to this, because I think we're limiting the potential for saving taxpayer dollars. And I understand that this is COVID money. And COVID money, here's my opinion of COVID money. COVID money doesn't necessarily, as a matter of fact, it doesn't come directly out of the residents or taxpayers in the city of Warwick. But COVID money has got to be repaid. It is not free. And it's going to be repaid in your federal taxes. Somewhere along the line, the government's getting their money back. So it's great that we have COVID money to spend on these things, but it still isn't free. So that's one of my issues. And also, with all due respect to our harbor master, who I know and have a lot of respect for, and I've known Jeff for a very long time, long before I ever got on the city council. And I'm also a boater, so I'm relatively familiar with the capabilities and the needs and the I wish I had kind of items that are involved. My boat's a 20-year-old vessel I've replaced just 2 years ago. It was for the third time I replaced the full set of electronics in my boat. So I get it. I get the need for doing this. I also believe that the Harbor Master's Department has been neglected over the years and has not received the attention that I think, this is my personal feelings, that they should have. We've been dealing with issues with boats, with motors, et cetera, et cetera. They spend more time on the water than any of the other departments put together. And I think that department has been neglected for a very, very long time on equipment, on staffing, et cetera, until very recently. And to Mayor Picozzi's credit, he has addressed the staffing issues very recently, and obviously is looking to increase the equipment. However, I also feel that some of these items are overkill. I don't see the need for, as an example, a radio that has AIS capabilities. Unless we're running our boats, out to Block Island somewheres or in the Providence River Channel where tugboats may be coming in or other larger vessels. I don't particularly see the need for AIS, which is, it's an identification process that will identify another vessel out there by calling names and whatever and tell them the size, et cetera. And I think that, as an example on that number 9, that radio that is being priced out at $700, you could use the VHF number 115, which I priced out today at $349. And it's going to do the same thing, but it's not going to have AIS. I have a concern with items 5, 6, and 7. So item 5 is a light bar for a closed dome radar with a FLIR camera mount. It doesn't specify the specific item. Now that could be a Seaview mount, it could be a Lamanter, I think it is, mount, it could be a custom-made mount, but there's too much flexibility in that item, and it's not a cheap item. And I'm not even sure on a vessel that we're talking about, which is a 28-foot center console vessel that's going to have a radar dome about 8 feet off the water. I'm not even sure if an elevated dome or frame is necessary. Keep in mind, this particular radar unit that's spelled out has a 48-mile capability. There's no way that boat is ever going to be able to see out 48 miles because it's just not high enough off the water. So I think that's another item that is just a much more expensive item than what we need, in addition to that particular antenna. The modular plate, I think, is something that probably is not necessary given the height off the water. Items 11, 12, and 13, those also lead into too many variables as to what can be provided, because the set of LED navigational lights, it's broad, and I'm not looking to offend anybody. I'm just stating it as I see it. It's something that could be interpreted differently in different products provided. So given the fact that we have local vendors here in the city of Warwick that, for whatever reason, were not sent a request to bid on this, whether you think they would be interested in bidding or not isn't the point. The point is, I think we need to do a much better job at informing potential vendors that things are out there to bid. We can say, well, we posted on the newspaper and we got it on the city site and we do all of this stuff. I've talked to people who have no idea how to venture through the city site to do all this stuff, to play the hide and seek game. And I am one of them. And it makes it too convoluted for people to do the homework. You can, Director, you can shake your head all you want, but that's the way I feel about it. 11, 12, and 13, they're very vague, and they're very, too many variables in these items. And also, Director, seeing as you're up there, have you or anyone else added up these items from Edgewood and Greenwich Cove? Has anyone done the math on those? Did you do the math on those?
Councilman, before we hit the 10 minutes, but I'm going to ask if one of the members of the committee would like to allocate us an amount of time to extend your comments and or questions.
Move to extend 5 minutes.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Chairman.
Councilman.
Thank you, committee. So did you?
Okay, so to begin.
I apologize. Please identify, and it would be through the chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Francis
Excuse me,
Gomez,
Director, this-
Purchasing Director.
This is just a yes or no question. Did you or anyone in your department add the numbers up from the bids from Edgewood or Greenwich Cove?
Again, I'm going to start from the beginning. As you said yourself, the Harbor Master Division has been long neglected. This is Jeff's first time coming to me as the purchasing agent director for bidding. And I asked him to provide vendor lists, not for only this bid, but for other bids. Why? Because usually the department is the expert in what they're bidding out. Okay? When it
Excuse me,
comes,
that's not what
I'm
I
not
said.
done speaking.
Mr. Chairman,
Um,
excuse me, a
Councilman,
point of
she's-
order. I asked a question.
I'm getting
a
You
there.
yes
asked,
or
you
no
asked a
answer.
question, but you also did a 10-minute delivery of opinion, which I think the department has a right to defend themselves.
That's fine, they can
Or
do
to
that.
answer your questions
I just
from
asked
that.
for a simple yes or no answer.
and
Did they do the math? That's
And
it.
I'm
She can
gonna,
talk about all the other
I
stuff
think she made it
wants.
clear she'll answer it. I'd like to hear her reply, and she'll end it with an answer to that question. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. So where was I? Yes, so it was a long time neglected department for Harbor Master. Jeff came on board and was ready to work with me to put out these bids with the $120,000 ARPA funding approved by this council, and it's in our budget for FY fiscal year 24. So therefore, B and Jeff have been working together on that. The responsibility of every department when bidding out is to offer the purchasing division not only the specs for the bid of what they are looking for, because I wouldn't know anything about a boat, or maybe I would be an expert, who knows. Anyways, besides that, they provide the vendor list. Some have 27 vendors, some may only know 2. And those are the vendors we email separately from advertising. We have heard over and over again how you say it's so difficult to go and maneuver this website, but it's also the responsibility of any business owner to go and seek these bids as well. And when it comes to adding up anything that comes up with pricing sheets, that is the responsibility of the director of that department, not mine. Thank you.
So with all that said, could I get an answer to my question, please?
I just answered it.
I'm sorry, please.
I do not add up pricing sheets in purchasing. That is a responsibility of each and every director of every department for the city of Warwick that actually works for the city of Warwick.
Thank you.
So the bids are provided to you.
The bids are provided to me.
Correct.
The specs, the boilerplate is provided
Okay,
by
I'm gonna,
purchasing.
if I could ask that all the comments and questions go through the chair, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, please.
So the bids go to your department. By the way, let me just clarify something. When I'm speaking to any director and I'm saying go to you, I don't mean that specific person. I mean that department, okay? So these bids, the department head, in this case, the harbor master, sends you the wish list of stuff. This is what he feels that, in this case, he feels is what he's looking for, okay? And that's fine. And I don't necessarily fault anyone for looking to get, the best and the biggest and the greatest of anything they can get. I look at it also from the want to the need being to have what you need in order to do your job as safe, as effectively, and as efficiently, dollar-wise, as possible. So that's how I look at it. Now, that goes to the purchasing department. You send out your bid request. You get the bids back in. The purchasing department opens the bids. You look at all the numbers. I don't think that Jeff Barris, in this case, is going to be sitting at the table adding up those numbers to see if those numbers add up correctly. I'll cut to the chase. The numbers are wrong. Edgewood bid, they're looking to do a bid for $31,559.88. The numbers add up to $32,589.88. Now, I added them up 3 times. I did an Excel spreadsheet and had Excel add them up. So nobody's checking the numbers. That's the point. But yet, we don't want to provide the city council with the backup information in the bid package because we don't need to do that. It's okay. Don't do that. But yet, here's another example that hadn't I gone through this math equation, wouldn't have known that the bid was off by $1,030. So if we approved it for $31,559, at some point, somebody's coming back to us and saying, oops, sorry, made a mistake. It didn't add up. We need another $1,030. But yet, let's continue not providing the backup information. This is something that's really off track. So those are my issues with this, Mr. Chairman. I think that this process is not fair to all vendors. And you can say, well, it's up to the business people to do the research. It's up to them to go on the city website and do all this other stuff. People in business, especially small business people, they're everything. They're the bookkeepers, they're the purchasing agents, they're the laborers, they're the presidents. They don't have time to be chasing down all of this stuff. We're supposed to, as a government, we're supposed to try to make it easier for our vendors, especially our local vendors. Try to make it easier for them to be able to bid on this stuff, not make it more difficult, and tell them it's your responsibility to go out and do all the research and try and find out where all this stuff is. That is ridiculous. So those are my problems with this bid, whether it be requesting this committee or whether I do it on the council floor. Mr. Chairman, I will be making a request that this bid be resent for a new bid with better notification to prospective vendors, and that the harbor master takes another look at some of these option items to see if he can get the same, or he can get similar product that's going to do what he needs to protect the safety, to do the job, the efficiency. Some people might object to that FLIR camera. I don't object to that. I think that is something that is necessary, particularly in night rescues or night accidents, et cetera. But that's what my request is going to be, Mr. Chairman, either for this committee or I'll do it on the floor, that this be rebid. I have spoken to the harbor master about it earlier today. He did not seem to have a problem with doing a rebid. I'll let him speak to that himself. There's plenty of time to do it. The boats don't float until April. And I just think in the interest of fairness to all and tightening up some of these items, I think it would, in the long run, still give all the benefit the harbor master needs and deserves, but yet still gives the financial consideration to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chief, I see you there. I'll give you a moment to make a statement, and I was going to ask the harbor master. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Aaron McAsee, Mayor's Chief of Staff. All of the councilman's other points aside, on the last one, the purchasing director met all of the state and local law requirements with this bid, tossing it out because somebody who did not see the bid, which was publicly put out there, and has not reached out to the purchasing department to have their email address added to the list of vendors who are reached out to and items in a particular subject matter come up to bid, I would make the administration highly uncomfortable that we'd be doing that just based on one potential vendor reaching out. Would not make the administration comfortable, especially after submissions have come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, one moment, Councilman. I'd like to ask, if you don't mind, the harbor master, with everything that's on this and you're careful, do you support the equipment that is being purchased and requested? Does this fulfill the need of the harbor master?
Yes, it does. It fulfills the need, and it satisfies our requirements.
Okay, thank you. I saw that you wanted to make a comment, Director. Please identify.
Francis Gomez, purchasing agent.
Thank you.
Since we followed all the state and city laws when it comes to advertising bids and actually did receive 2 submissions from 2 vendors, this will open us up for litigation. That's 1. And 2, bid protest, which the vendors that did submit have in every right to do. These bid submissions are now public. If another vendor comes out because we want to rebid, I would protest as a vendor. That's one. And two, they're already seeing what was bidded, whether it was calculated correctly by the department or not. And that gives them an advantage, which goes against a lot of things when it comes to litigation and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry, Councilman. You had 15 minutes. I see that another member of the council has his hand up. Councilman Ricks.
Thank you. A couple of items here. So first, I would say that I'm going to base my vote on this matter not on on one of those particular concerns, because my vote on this matter isn't going to be relating to the particular concerns that were brought up, but because I think that it's appropriate for the city council to reject the current bid due to specification changes. And if the specifications are changed due to the need or the wisdom of going with different specifications, then it would really be a matter of a different set of bids. So it's not necessarily opening up the city to liability in that regard. And I do see the need to change some of the specifications here based on the concerns that Councilman Lattiser raised. But I was going to address a different point that I think gets to the heart of some of this matter here. So there was a comment earlier that I really wasn't comfortable with, a comment that it's the responsibility of the businesses to come forth and apply to bid here. That seems backwards to me. Now, legally, sure, the city has a certain level of responsibility here, and the businesses have a certain level of responsibility, certainly, that if they want to be considered, then as long as the city complies with its minimum legal obligations regarding the posting, city website, so on and so forth, the city has met its obligations, certainly. But the city here is acting effectively as the consumer. If I were to walk out into the city square or the like, or go on Facebook or the like and say, hey, I want to buy something, name any random thing, I want to go buy a new phone, and I put that up on Facebook, business owners have no responsibility to submit bids to me. It's the same thing with the city. And here, the entire reason for this entire process with the Finance Committee, where we approve, the Finance Committee approves these different items, considers these different bids, is because we're trying to protect the city, make sure that the city is getting the most bang out of the buck for the sake of the taxpayers. And the way to do that is to try to make this process, which the process, it is a bit Byzantine. There are a lot of state laws and the like that we have to comply with here. I was taking a look at the bid sheet for the another item here. I won't get into details, but suffice to say, I've looked through a number of these different bid sheets, for instance, having to do with items where ARPA funds would be involved. And it never ceases to surprise me that some of these bid sheets with the various specifications are literally over 100 pages long. No wonder why vendors may need a little bit of help navigating all of this. A lot of business owners out there, they may not be interested in navigating this entire process. They would rather spend their time just stock the shelves, answer calls on the phone. They may not want to take however many hours to really learn this whole process. And there are reasons why, of course, we have this whole process in place. Every single one of these different requirements, all the regulation, of course. But having that ability having having people take those extra steps to continue to reach out, help people, business owners navigate this whole process so that we are getting more people bidding here. Because it is not their responsibility to go and seek us out. It's our responsibility to go seek them out so that more business owners are applying and we're effectively getting the lowest possible prices here, ultimately so that the taxpayers' money goes further. That's all.
Thank you, and we're going to continue with the comments, questions from the rest.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question
I'm sorry,
to
Councilman.
ask in rebuttal.
Hold on one moment, please. One moment, and then we'll go to the public. But right now, I'd like to request a PCR on this, if I may have a PCR number. PCR 9-24. Thank you. Are there any other members of the council that would like to speak that haven't spoken yet? Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you, Chairman. Kudos to Councilman Ricks. You really put it in a much clearer perspective than I did. And I just find it outrageous that I'm sitting here with two members of the administration that is saying the onus needs to be put on the businesses. Whatever happened to making it easier to do business in the city of Warwick? I remember hearing that. We're going to make it easier to do business. Instead, we stand right here this evening and saying, oh, your responsibility. These smaller businesses, in case you're not aware of the fact, they are grinding it out every day. As I said earlier, they're doing all the nuts and bolts of running a business. They're trying to stay solvent. They're trying to take home a paycheck. They're trying to avoid bankruptcy. They don't have time to be chasing down, and in many cases, they don't have the technological skills to chase all this down. But we don't care about that because you're the business. It's your responsibility. That is just so frustrating to me. I can't even begin to tell you as a business person how outrageous that is. And a question to the harbor master.
Councilman,
the chairman asked if
Councilman, I'm sorry,
equipment
Councilman,
was
you
meeting
asked
your needs.
for an
Last
extension
question.
before. Sir, we have other people that would like to speak. You made your point.
This is one last
your
question
point,
for the
You
harbor
made
master.
your point, and I'd like to get to the public for public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions from members of the public? Just please identify when you get to the microphone.
Nice to see you. You too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob Cody. Just prior to a couple questions that I have, just for the council's information, I've been a licensed charter captain, delivery captain for 40 years. I have delivered millions and millions of dollars worth of yachts, new and used, and I have safely transported thousands of passengers through all types of conditions. I take exception when the harbor master says that this electronics package is entry level. It is by no means entry level. I'm currently running a $350 million offshore high-speed center console that doesn't have this package. It does have one thing. It does have a 48-mile radar. And I'd like to ask the department head, Parks and Rec department head, and maybe the harbor master, and maybe Mr. Howe too, because I know you're a math guy. You'll appreciate this. Are you folks familiar with the basic equation, which is called line of sight radar? Are you familiar with that equation? Okay.
Harbor master, if you would like to, you were asked the question. I saw you. Go ahead.
Yes, Rob, I am.
Okay. So what that means is there's a basic formula that tells you no matter what radar you buy, no matter how much it costs, that radar will only see and be able to identify objects based upon the height of the water. And the object is the height of the bottom of the antenna off the water in feet. The square root of that times 1.23. We have skiffs. They got quahog boats, old quahog boats. I know you shook your head when you said, oh, our equipment's 15 years old. So are the boats. But we've put over $100,000 into these boats where we could have bought brand new ones. But I digress. You're going to buy a 48-mile radar, 2 of them, on boats that will not see more than 4 miles. Furthermore, when you look at the harbor restrictions of the harbor master, you're restricted into the areas of Warwick. And I know you said that you use about 20 hours a week for each boat. Now, I'm on the water daily, 7 days a week, pretty much. And would it be fair to say that the vast amount of your time is spent at the top of Warwick Cove and at the top of Apponaug Cove, assisting boaters in and out and keeping the speed controlled? Is that a fair statement?
So, Mr. Cody, you're asking, I'm sorry, who are you addressing that question through the chair?
I asked the harbor master. I think he's on site. Right?
Sir, if you would like to answer that question.
Yes, that is a fair assessment. But I would like to clear something up, is that we're not buying a 48-mile radar. We're buying the smallest radar that's available with this package, which is an 18-inch dome. It's a 24-mile radar.
Can you speak a little louder, Jeff?
Yeah, Rob, it's actually a 24-mile radar. I don't know where the 48 came from.
It's right in the specifications. Look it up.
Oh, but that's...
So my point being with that radar is you're only going to see 4 miles. That's it. That's what you're going to get, 4 miles. Now, you can get other radars that are 24-mile radars, which I have one on my boat, and you're still not going to see that 24 miles, but you can get them from Garmin, from Raytheon, and Furuno, 24-mile radars that are compatible with the same types of GPS and depth finders for 1/3 the price. 1/3. Less than $1,000, you'll get the radar dome and the display for $999.95. So the point is, it's great to have the best of everything, but I don't think anybody in this room would go out and buy a Ferrari to drive it in the parking lot of the Warwick Public Library and never being able to take it out of there. And that's what this amounts to. The other question is, you know, when you look at your multifunction display, it's a high-resolution fish finder. That's what it's termed, a high-resolution fish finder. We're not going fishing. The equipment that he's picked out is great, fantastic. Not for these boats. These are skiffs, right, that operate in the confines of Warwick Cove and Apponaug Cove. They're never going outside of that because we can't. And under the jurisdiction, if you read the harbor master's regulations, he is not a search and rescue boat. He is a towboat. I see no reason for the infrared cameras, the night vision cameras. I mean, come on. 30 years ago, I was going to Block Island and a quarter-mile visibility in the fog with parallel rules, a divider and a compass and a paper chart recorder. You're in Warwick Cove, assisting boaters, keeping the jet skis from going crazy. I have no problem putting decent electronics on. But you don't have to have the top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art, because the capabilities of the equipment that you're purchasing, you'll never use those capabilities ever. It's just too much for the application. So I take exception when we're going to spend $32,000 on equipment where you have part-time, part of the season, 6 months, maybe 7 months, right? Mm-hmm. And the overwhelming majority of that time, Saturdays and Sundays, probably maybe some Friday nights to get those people coming out of the harbor side, right?
That's right.
So I would say, am I in the ballpark where I would say that 75 to 80% of the time spent with the harbor master is during the daylight hours? Is that fair? Am I in the ballpark?
Actually, you are. You are. But our jurisdiction is fairly extensive.
Right, but you, in no way, in nowhere is your jurisdiction more than 4 miles off the coastline of the city of Warwick. Nowhere.
No, not a normal patrol.
Right. Okay. Nowhere does the harbor master have any jurisdiction further than 4 miles. It's actually less than that. It's about 3 miles. All right. So 20% of the harbor master boat's time on the water, 20% of the 50% of the year that the harbor master is out there, 20% is at night. 20%. We're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on this high-tech equipment. It just defies all principles, right? You know, you need to spend your money wisely, right? Spend it wisely. If you have X amount of dollars to spend, sure, get the electronics you need, not the electronics that you wish you had, because you're never going to use those capabilities, right? You don't have the height, and most likely, the boats as they are now probably don't have the power to control. How many batteries are on those boats? Two? Two. So you're going to repower that as well, because those units will not run off those 2 batteries. I can assure you that, because I've ran those units on many yachts. You're not going to, so that's another thing that'll come down the line on a 56.6 that, hey, you know, we didn't realize we'd have to upgrade it. You get boats that are 2008 and 2010, and you guys are shaking your head because you said, oh, those electronics are 15 years old. Oh my God. You're putting new engines and state-of-the-art electronics on sea scows. They're cohort skiffs, right? They're glorified cohort skiffs. So, you know, Mr. Lattiser makes great points. Jeremy makes great points. But the point is, as a professional mariner with tens of thousands of hours in all kinds of conditions in New England, it's outrageous that you're going to spend that kind of money for those electronics on boats that will never use the capabilities that those electronics were made for. And furthermore, for a third the price, you can buy equally effective equipment. Same thing, high definition, 4kW, 5kW, integrated MFDs, for a third the price. For the confines that you're using, you got to remember, guys, these boats, these are not ocean-going boats, right? They're not, they are fair weather boats. And the term harbor master, that department is there to patrol and protect the harbor. Now, if the fire department needs to have the night vision on their boats, no problem with that, because they are a search and rescue company. He is not. And by the way, if he does get involved in search and rescue at night, and something goes wrong, God forbid, we may be on the hook, right? It's outside of the jurisdiction of his boundaries. I read the entire city charter tonight relative to the harbor master, his responsibilities and his boundaries. So give him good equipment, needs to have it. Bear in mind, look at the big picture, what his ultimate responsibility, what his time usage on the water is, and the effectiveness of the equipment, so we have equipment that's effective. And by the way, no disrespect, that's a lot of equipment. And by the way, those boats are not parked in the nicest of neighborhoods, if you follow me, right? I mean, if you take a look and contact the police department and look at the theft in the marinas, high theft area, big money equipment with LED lights saying, come and steal my stuff. So the council really needs to look at this objectively and think about efficiency and the capabilities and usage of the equipment, so we're not overbuying something. And if we have this money, use it efficiently, and if there's leftover money, put it to some other use that's beneficial for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments, questions from members of the public? Since this is now a PCR, I'm going to ask for a recommendation from this committee.
Point of order.
Yes. Councilman Gebhardt.
Since we identified that the math doesn't math, do we want to amend this?
Certainly.
Okay. So it's off by $1,030. I just forget which direction.
37,000. Yeah, that number. Right.
I think we have to increase it.
That's right.
It's hold on, let me look at the bid.
$32,589.88.
Yeah, what was the bid amount? Was that
Bid amount was $31,559.88.
Increase by $1,030.
So you have a motion to amend PCR 9-24 to an amount increased of $1,030 to $32,589.88. The motion is on the
Second.
table. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for legal counsel, if I may.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, Mr. Solicitor, is it appropriate for conversations to be taking place amongst individuals at the podium off the record? Meaning, if I'm at the podium answering questions, is it appropriate for someone to be whispering in my ear whatever is being whispered? Or is that comment from the person to be put on the record? Because that's what's occurring. So let me give you a different example. So I'm in communications with the council about a specific issue, and Councilwoman Travis is reaching over to me, whispering things to me that pertain to this conversation. Is that appropriate, or should Ms. Travis's comments be put on the record?
Thank you for the question, Councilman. I would suggest that the hypotheticals pertaining to elected official conversations about business that is currently before the body is a distinct, well, one, it isn't what is being presented. So that hypothetical has a different set of baseline under commentary about items going on here. And that's only if a quorum of things were going to be done. So I would suggest that the rules don't dictate things beyond maintaining order and decorum. The fact that the administration may be communicating to confer with each other is, I would suggest, something that's outside the scope of the rules and is an allowable entity, and it may not necessarily be required to be presented on the record. It's unclear. We don't know
exactly
what's going on.
We don't know. So we're having a conversation about a specific item, and now someone is having communication on a sidebar. We don't know what that communication is. We're not being privy to what the comments are, or ask this question, or, no, this is that. And neither is the public who are watching this on YouTube. So is that type of activity appropriate? I'm not asking you is this within our scope as a governing body of the city council. In any realm, in any scope, is that appropriate?
I would suggest that I'm not aware of them violating any provisions of order before us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We had a motion for favorable action on an amended PCR. Now I'd like to ask for a motion as amended.
Move favorable action.
Second, all in favor?
No.
Aye. And one correction. 2 yes, 1 no. Thank you. That would be Councilman Gebhardt. All set, support? Thank you. May I have a motion on the full consent calendar vote?
Move favorable action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. May I have a motion for the minutes for the meeting held, acceptance of the minutes for the meeting held on January 3rd?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The time is 6:21. The Finance Committee has concluded business. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next committee to meet is the Public Properties Committee, and that will start at 6:40. So we will see you back here at 6:40.
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Hey, I gotta tell you this.
I'm groovy.
Oh.
On Public Properties, Land Use, and Community Affairs comes to order. First, we have acceptance of minutes from the committee meeting held on January 3rd, 2024. Do we have a motion?
Move acceptance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have one item on the agenda, PCR 131-23. This is Councilman Sinapi. It is entitled A Resolution Dedicating Barton Farm as a Municipal Public Trust pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 45-36.1-1 et sec, and as having conservation restrictions pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 34-39-1 et sec. It is Assessor's Plat 251, Lot 179, at 1351 Centerville Road. Councilman Snappy, a recommendation? Recommend hold to March 4th. Do we have a motion?
Move to hold till March 4th.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Second. And
You need a second first.
Oh, Councilman Foley seconded, excuse me, Councilman Foley made the motion. Councilman Gebhardt
Second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The committee adjourns at 6:42 PM.
17th, 2024 City Council meeting to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. McAllister?
Here.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Gephardt? Mr. Howe?
Here.
Mr. Lattiser? Mr. McElroy?
Here.
Mr. Ricks?
Here.
Mr. Sinapi? Here. Ms. Travis?
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Travis, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, not long bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good evening again. First up this evening is general communications. This is announcements of congratulations, condolences, or community events. Again, I just want to make sure that the residents of Warwick are aware of our code red notification system. This will update you on parking bans, state of emergencies, school closures, etc. So you can go on the Warwick website to sign up to get those notifications. And also, again, there'll be you'll see them at numerous community events over the next few months, but you can go right on the website. There is heating assistance and utility assistance available to residents of Warwick through the city of Warwick and West Bay Community Action. Again, please visit the website if you are looking for assistance paying your bills this winter. So it's very important. We see what the weather has been like this week. So heating assistance and utility assistance is available to residents of Warwick. Please visit our website for both the code red notification system and utility assistance and heating assistance. Are there any other informational things under general communications from members of the City Council? Councilman Howe.
Mr. President, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to mention this. A good supporter of yours, a good friend of ours, Dan O'Toole. His mother passed away last week, right before the new year, and I was going to request a moment of silence for Mrs. O'Toole.
And thank you very much, Councilman Howe. And I do have a resolution of condolences for Mr. O'Toole. So thank you for mentioning that. And we will have a moment of silence for Mrs. O'Toole. Thank you. Anything else under general communications for members of the council? Okay, next up is executive communications. There are none. A is the acceptance of minutes from the council meeting held on January 3rd, 2024. Councilman Howe.
Move favorable action.
Second by Councilman Foley and Councilman Gephardt and Councilman Lattiser. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next up this evening is public comment. Again, I just want to do one last call. case anybody's here. Okay. Rule 41, after general communications and prior to the consent calendar at the last regularly scheduled meeting of the city council each month, there shall be a period of time not to exceed 30 minutes during which citizens may comment about Warwick City government issues subject to the following stipulations. The total period of time for public comment shall not exceed 30 minutes. Comments need to be brief in order to allow as many citizens as possible to participate. Each citizen signed up and present shall have not to exceed 5 minutes to speak, provided, however, that if more than 6 citizens are signed up and present, the 30 minutes will be split evenly among speakers. Time shall not be transferable among speakers. The topics for comment shall be issues directly affecting city government. City council members will not respond to questions during public comment period. The public comment session will terminate at the expiration of the earlier of all speakers concluding their allotted time or 30 minutes. Waiver of this provision requires a unanimous vote of the council. So we have 5 individuals set to speak. So each individual will have 5 minutes. The first speaker this evening is Rob C.
Rob Cody, Ward 7. So I just wanted to let everybody know, remind everybody tonight, 6 months to the day that Councilwoman Travis violated my First Amendment. And I wanted to remind you of the oath of office that you all raised your right hand and took when you were elected. And this is what it says. It says, you, being by the free vote of the electors of the state of Rhode Island, elected unto the place of city council, do solemnly swear to be true and faithful unto the state and to support the Constitution of this state and of the United States, that you will faithfully and impartially discharge all of your duties of the aforesaid office to the best of your abilities, according to law, so help you God. Well, Ms. Travis violated that. But more outrageous is the fact that this city council and this city charter has no method of admonishment, no procedure of admonishment, punishment, dismissal, or discharge, or removal. So what does this mean? It's not worth the paper it's written on. It's meaningless. You can do anything you want to any resident, doesn't matter. No recourse. But what should be happening, because this isn't going away, just so you know, and the longer it lasts, the worse it's going to get. But every council member should be docketing a resolution that everyone should sign that you need to institute an admonishment and a dismissal procedure when this happens. If you don't, it's meaningless. You can do anything you want to any resident. Who cares? And that's what we've come to. It's your responsibility to do that. You swore an oath of office, and we haven't heard a word from the city council or the attorneys, 4 of them, by the way, on the council. No apologies, no remorse, nothing. So it's accepted. The other thing I wanted to say was, since we're on the subject of spending enormous amounts of money on GPS, we had another week where I documented the waste, fraud, and abuse of the DPW, driving aimlessly through the city, performing no work, 45-minute lunch breaks, then taking an hour and driving 24 miles randomly through the city, another guy hiding out behind the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, how many more do I have to document? Right? But no one on this council's got the guts to employ GPS or to make a motion to put GPS in these vehicles, but you want to put state-of-the-art GPS on 2 Quahog skiffs that don't leave Warwick Cove. Why? Why don't we have GPS on these vehicles? Are you guys afraid that the unions might come after you because you're finally going to have some accountability and traceability? It happens every day. And what's really disturbing to me is when little Cindy Lou comes before this council that hit a pothole and she needs $120, and you guys spend an hour and a half shooting her down because, well, we're not going to pay the $120. And what do we usually hear? Well, we didn't know the pothole was there. You didn't know. You got 100 DPW vehicles on the road 5 days a week. No GPS. There should not be a pothole or speck of stone that no one doesn't know about. But we're not going to put GPS in because then we'll really know and we'll be able to quantify how the taxpayer is getting screwed. So this points to 2 things, these videos. I'll have more for you next week. It points to two things. Either we are completely overstaffed and there's no work to be done, so these guys just got orders to just drive around and hide out, or you've got such an incompetent level of management that no one gives a damn because nothing's being done. A couple months ago, W41, the dump truck, 3 hours at the boat ramp in Oakland Beach in Ward 6, doing nothing, 3 hours with the engine running, violating the Diesel Idling Act of the state of Rhode Island. Nobody did anything. When is this council going to demand that these vehicles that we pay for have GPS installed in them and we can trace the work of these workers? How about last week I videotaped a backhoe? A backhoe leaves where he's working to drive back to the city yard to have lunch and then drives back to where he works. You guys need to read the contracts. It
You have 30
allows for
seconds,
one
Mr. Cody.
15-minute rest period for 4 hours. That means you stop work, you eat your lunch, you go back to work. You don't leave at 8:45, drive halfway across the city, go to the coffee shop, stay there for 25 minutes, and then drive back. It allows one 30-minute lunch break. That means you stop work, you eat your lunch, go back to work. You don't drive to the Han Palace, get there at 10 or 12 and stay there till 12:40, and then drive 24 miles through the city and not do work. Is that what the taxpayers are paying for? You guys are the policing authority of our money, and you're not doing anything
Time up,
about it, and you
Mr.
need
Cody.
to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is David P.
Hi, Council President. I live at 31 Shepherd Drive in Warwick. My name is Dave Perry. I live at 31 Shepherd Drive in Warwick. And every year when it snows, they plow all of Shepherd Drive in front of my driveway at the end of the street. And I have a double driveway, and it's 4 feet high, 6 feet high, and there's no way I can dig that out. I'm 64 years old now, and I can't do it anymore. There's no way an oil man can park his truck in front of my driveway and deliver oil because he can't get past the snow that's pushed up against my trailer at the end of the street. And the neighbor next door, his lot was measured by me. It's supposed to be 100.8 inches. It measured out to 101.5 inches, which is all right. But when it gets out to the road, it surpasses that amount. He's got more property than what he's supposed to have. And what happened was, in 1971, when the house was built, they put 2 loads of loom in the front yard, and it rained for 2 days, and it drained down in front of my driveway, 3 feet in front of my driveway, and 12 feet out in the road. And the Department of Public Works came by and put a curb anywhere they wanted to. And that's not right. I was 12 years old, and I was a witness to it. And I told the 2 guys I was working, I said, "You're doing it wrong. You're not supposed to be doing that." You know what he told me? "Shut up and mind your business." So I told my father that night. He told me almost the same thing. He says, "Just be quiet and leave the guys alone. Let them do their job." My father was a softie. Well, when my mother backs out of the driveway, she used to hit the curb in order to get out of the driveway. We have to back in and out of our driveway or drive in on an angle because there's no other way in. And I got trailers, and I have to back straight up to the trailer. Otherwise, I'll do damage to my truck or trailer. And the road is on an angle, so I can't back up straight. It has to be taken away from it was put on a road. So it's going to be taken 12 feet off the road, and the curb's going to go back 12 feet from the road and 3 feet right in front of my driveway. and I can be able to back up and get my trailers in and out. Right now, they're in violation of my civil rights under the Freedom of Enterprise Act law. I have the right to go out and make money, but I can't get my trailers in and out of the yard without doing damage to them. Or I can't get it out, period, because there's snow out in the road and I can't get to it. I want something done, Council President. They have to remove the property. They're like 12 feet out. They built
You
two
have 1
houses.
minute.
They built two houses, one at 1 Drive, and I think the one beside it, I just don't know the proper address, but it's 12 feet out into the road. It's got to be removed 12 feet back. So we have proper access. I fell twice over that curb, and I hurt myself. And the mayor doesn't want to hear nothing about it. He says he saw what's going to be done, and he's not doing nothing about it. I asked him why. He just says he doesn't want to do nothing about it. And that's against the law. What he's doing is a crime, because he's not doing his job and he's getting paid for it. By not doing his job, he's receiving money under false pretenses, and that's a crime in the state of Rhode Island. And also under the RICO Act. Thank you, Your Honor, Your Council President.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker this evening is Daniel D.
Yes, sir. I live in Warwick, I live in Lakewood. And this is basically, we're spending $8 million on an ice rink that's actually closer to the south side of Main Street on East Greenwich than it is to my neighborhood. Lakewood, we don't really have much going on for us. We have a broken down playground with one swing. I don't know where the other swing went to. And, we need help with the field. I think it's Klitzer Field. We used to call it the pit. And it shouldn't be us trying to fight with Norwood or Pilgrim to get it. This is something that the entire city uses, or at least Warwick North. They come down there, and it seems like everybody else is getting playgrounds, and we're not. This is like $8 million, and I'm just asking that, aside from the funds that we're supposed to be getting, the ARPA funds, if we can get something, done there, because again, it's not just Lakewood that uses it. It's pretty much all of Warwick North that uses it, which is a couple of neighborhoods, because we're hurting there. And it's like we have to go to Roger Williams Park to get. That's the closest thing in Warwick that we have anything to get to. Because Patuxent is kind of limited, parking and stuff like that. And we're just asking that the city help us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker this evening is Richard L.
Richard Langseth, Budlong Farm, and I circulated a email to you folks last night regarding the airport and the MOU. I was at the airport meeting Thursday, and Bill Fisher, who used to be their PR guy and is a $10,000 a month lobbyist for Amazon, that's $120,000 a year, went into their executive session where they were discussing litigation. Now, he's not a lawyer. And in fact, the lawyer for the RIAC was out with me. He was going to speak about Westerly Airport and Block Island. So anyway, I was quite appalled by this, and I filed a complaint with the Attorney General. So the result is, I do believe that an MOU that you folks might get from the mayor really should consider the fact that it was passed by RIAC in an executive session, which is under a challenge. So I would encourage you to delay until the Attorney General resolves this issue. In addition, I talked about TEFRA. TEFRA is a federal IRS law that requires a public process when you finance something like an airport. And I have quite a long petition before the Commerce Corporation, which I filed yesterday, and it explains many instances of the Commerce Corporation not following TEFRA. Now, when it comes to RIAC and their plan to build the South Cargo facility, they're going to have to get a bond for this. They're going to have to finance it, and I'm demanding that a hearing be held before they make any decisions. And I would ask the city to support this effort. I think it's really important to have a public process when you're doing things like building private facilities on airports in Warwick. And it's of great concern to the city as well as everybody else, because we just need to follow the law, you know. If the feds say you have a hearing, then have the hearing. Now, it's kind of hard for me to do this on my own. I'm trying, and I very well may succeed, but if you folks could help in any way, it would be much appreciated. On a little bit of a difficult matter, I asked for the original MOU that RIAC sent to the mayor. I asked for it under an APRA request, and I was denied the access to this. They were claiming that it's a city document. Apparently, it's a working document, they say. But however, the city has rejected it. They say that they're not interested in the first MOU document. They want the second one. So I appealed to the mayor, and I got an answer back today. No, it's a working document. You can't have it. So then again, I filed another complaint before the Attorney General about the first MOU. Now, I understand that many people have seen this MOU, the press, a lot of other people, but here I am not getting it, and here I am, the only person who will actually file motions, who will actually go to court if I have to make sure the process is done correctly. So I just wanted to bring you folks up to speed. I don't hate the airport. I don't like filing petitions. It's a lot of time and effort on my part, but somebody has to do it. So here he is. And I thank you for your time. And please read the petition that I gave you a link to. I think it's very informative. It brings you up to speed on TEFRA. What happened when I was at the airport, I presented it to the airport board, and the chairman of the board, John Savage, said, "I don't know anything about TEFRA. What is this TEFRA?"
You have 30 seconds, Mr. Lang.
Thank you. And so, you know, if you can, get informed, because this is really important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker this evening is Mike Z.
Before I start, if I could just ask the clerk how much time I have in total, please?
5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the City Council. Everybody's here tonight. My name is Mike Zarum. I live in Ward 2, for those who don't know me. I just want to make some comments tonight on something that's on the agenda that was held until March 4th. And that was PCR 131-23, resolution dedicating Barton Farms as a municipal public trust. I did have some comments prepared for Public Properties Committee and everything, and I did not present those comments because it was that PCR was held. At this time, I just want to thank the people on Public Properties Committee and Mr. Sinapi for speaking with me before tonight's meeting about the best way to reach the goals for Barton Farm. One of those goals is to continue to having agriculture there for the community. And one of the things I want to mention is that the state law on putting things in public trust is a good, quick blanket if the parcel matches what's in the state law. It also gives control of those restrictions to the state where they could be retained by the city. Now, we just went through whole rezoning process where the state mandated what they want. And I just want to express my concern for Barton Farm that some of the current activities up there that involve community farming are not mentioned at all under the public trust document. It doesn't mention anywhere in there that that's allowed. It does mention that it'll be conserved for open space, recreational use, and things like that. I know myself as a member of the Land Trust, also formerly being on the Greater Boston Real Estate Board, that there are many, many ways to get what you want as far as conservation goes, but allowing certain land uses. And there are two things we have to keep in mind. One is restrictions for the land itself. The other is to both restrict and allow certain specific uses, such as farming, which again, the state law doesn't mention at all. So with that, I've reached out. I'm looking at several other role models through New England where they've conserved land like this, but they've also preserved it for community-based agriculture and farming. And I want to look what their legal language is. And once I get that, I hope to compare the current deed for Barton Farm to what these other communities have successfully done. And then we can compare that to putting another public trust and then decide which is the best route to go from there. And I truly think that's the best way to go. I still have a little bit of time. I want to pick up on what Mr. Langseth said about the airport. One of the biggest problems with the airport is that many, many years ago, the FAA and all of its consultants sold a false bill of goods to Congress when they came out with their noise metrics, when they came out with their air toxic metrics. Congress bought it, and with that, they passed things like the Airport Noise and Capacity Act and a lot of other legislative measures at the federal level that make it very, very difficult for municipalities like the city of Warwick and municipalities all across the country. The one thing I want to mention here before my time is up is that certain people at the Rhode Island Airport Corporation keep mentioning that certain zoning laws in the city don't apply, when all the advisements I've gotten over the last 10 years from some pretty high-level attorneys that specialize in that body of law are that Warwick zoning does apply to Rhode Island Airport Corporation, particularly the state of Rhode Island, which is separate from RIAC since the state of Rhode Island owns that land. Most of that land is not owned by the federal government. It's owned by the state of Rhode Island. And also with that, the planning process, the master plan process, I believe applies. Now, the airport has told Mr. Howe and the mayor something different, but I actually have documents at home, they're FAA documents on their policy that specify where local zoning applies and where it doesn't. Thank you. I just want everybody to keep in mind that personally, don't believe anything Rhode Island Airport Corporation says to the city. Go out and fact check it yourself, which I think the mayor has done a good job of, and continue from there and continue to advocate for the people who live in this community. There's a lot more that we'll be able to do for the people that live on Strawberry Field West, and those will be brought to light over the next couple of months. Thank you for allowing me to comment, and Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up on the agenda is item number 1, the consent calendar, PCR 8-24, committee report, finance.
Favorable action.
For action, Councilman Howe.
Move favorable action.
Second by Councilman Foley. Go ahead, Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bid 2024-306, bid 2024-332, 2024-292, 2024-338, 2024-304, 2024-019, correction, 2024-091, 2024-3372, 2024-286, 2023-021, 2024-309. That concludes the bid package, Mr. President.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the bid package that were not asked earlier this evening in the Finance Committee? Okay, it's been moved in second. The clerk will call the roll for favorable action. Yes.
Mr. Foley, Mr. Gephardt, Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser.
Yes.
Mr. McElroy.
Yes.
Mr. Ricks.
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi, Ms. Travis. 9 yes, consent passes.
Thank you. Consent passes. Councilman Howe, I believe one item has been removed from the consent calendar.
Yes, Mr. President. Bid 2024-311, purchase installation of electronic equipment for the Harbor Master boats is now PCR 9-24, favorable action as amended.
With an amendment.
With an
Okay.
amendment.
So
Sorry.
what was the recommendation of the committee?
Favorable action with amendment.
Okay, and we'll get a second for that. Second by Councilman Foley. Councilman Howe, go ahead.
Upon discussion, respectfully request to hold the item for 1 month.
Okay, so you reported that what the committee had make a recommendation, but now you are changing the recommendation. You are recommending that we hold this.
Yes,
for
Mr.
1
President.
month. Okay, we'll take that as a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Foley. Okay, any question? Second by Council or question? Oh, okay. Any questions or comments on the motion to hold? Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion to hold, I have a concern with it. I don't disagree with it in its entirety, but my concern is you're holding for 1 month. And I would anticipate the reason for doing so is for the administration to perhaps come back to us with some different explanations or sorts. Here's where my concern lies. If this council does not agree with those changes, if there are any changes, is the council or the administration going to say, well, here we are, we're at the end of February, and it's too late to put this out for a rebid. So we've got to go with what we have. It was mentioned earlier about changing or going back, or the reason for not going back to rebid this, which we've done in the past, by the way, is because the bids are already out. Well, that's not completely accurate. If these items that have been identified as overkill, if you will, items that are not specific, do have very large variables involved between the equipment and the cost, et cetera. If those items, which are more than a half a dozen of them, are re-specified, that would automatically change the prices and automatically create a whole new bid. So this isn't, oh, we can't do this because the bids are already out and it's not legal and it's all of this stuff. You know what? That's kind of like selective reasons, because we've done it numerous times just recently. We said, oh, we need to add bidders, vendors onto the list that haven't bid. Well, I was very vocal about doing that. And it's okay to go ahead and put vendors on a bid that didn't bid in the first place and know what everybody else's bids are. That's okay. If this were done, and these items that are overkill or unnecessary or have a great degree of variance and cost, by the way, could potentially be several thousands of dollars, that changes the bid. It's a brand new day. It's a whole new bid. So I don't buy that, oh, you can't do it. There's a difference between can't and won't. So to go back to my original point, it will be very disturbing to me, for one, I think to the people or the vendors that are being required to do all this research on their own, to say it's too late. We can't go back for a rebid because we got to get these boats in the water. Yeah, I think that perhaps bidder protest is on the horizon, but it's not because of sending this back out for a rebid. It's because of the bidder process or the bid process. So that's my concerns. Now, I don't know if anyone is going to speak to my concern about in end of February saying it's too late, we can't go back out for bid because we get the boats in the water. That's a concern. So that's what I have to say on it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. My thoughts, I do support holding this as Councilman Howe has made a motion. I'm looking for additional information from the administration. They've listed here. I think we had some good discussions from both council members and members of the public that brought up some good points. So just looking for additional information and, kind of backup information that they can say the reason why we're going with this is because of this, this, and this. And I want to give them enough time to present that, and then we will take it. It'll be a brand, we're holding it, but it will be a brand new discussion. And if we need to make some adjustments, we can do that at that time. So that's why I'm supporting this. I'm looking for additional information, backup information from the administration. That's why I would be supportive of holding this item. And when it comes back up, we open it back up, and we can have discussion on what is brought forward at that time. So any other questions or comments? So there's a motion and a second to hold. Any other questions on that? And we'll do a roll call vote on that. So it's been moved and second to hold. And what's the date on that? February 22nd? February 26th. The clerk will call a roll for favorable action to hold to February 26th.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Gephardt? Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Yes. Ms. Travis?
Yes.
9 yes to hold to February 26th.
Thank you. Motion to hold. That passes. Next up is unfinished business. First up is PCR 131-23, Committee Report, Public Properties.
Held to March 4th.
Motion to hold to March 4th. Next up is new business. There is none, so we're moving to unanimous consent. Ward 1, anything to docket on unanimous consent? Ward 2? Ward 3?
Pass.
Ward 4?
Pass.
Ward 5?
Pass.
Ward 6?
Pass.
Ward 7 passes. Ward 8? Ward 9? Councilwoman Travis.
If there be no further business of this honorable body, I move to a docket session.
All those in favor of moving to docket session, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are now in the docket session. Ward 1, anything to docket this evening? Pass. Ward 2?
Pass.
Ward 3?
Pass.
Ward 4?
Pass.
Ward 5? Ward 6? Ward 7 passes. Ward 8? Public safety. It's a resolution for a yield sign. Ward 9, anything to docket this evening? Thank you very much. We are adjourned. We'll see you soon.